So today we're going to talk about inside the Facebook Ads Manager, consideration campaigns, 3 specific types of campaigns. One would be video views. The second would be lead generation or lead ads. And then the third one is messaging. And it's been interesting over the last few weeks. We get a lot of questions. We get a lot of questions, at least I do, from business owners, and they're always asking me about, okay, so what happened with this breach? What is going on with all this chaos of people's private information is all over social media? Well, the reality is, guys, when you set up your Facebook account, you put a lot of private information on your account. Now, that doesn't give anyone the right to breach or to hack your information, but the reality is what's the best way to say it? Privacy is there's no such thing as privacy. Is that fair? Because even if you're trying to hide it, I mean, if you're putting a credit card online, if you're buying something online, you're buying something through a credit card processing company, which is typically a sort of a chip that's in a store, a physical location, people can hack information in a lot of different ways. So I get it, right? We all understand that we want to keep things as private as we can, but when you talk about privacy, when you talk about exploitation of our own information, it's a scary thing for sure. And we just have to recognize that it is a scary thing, but there are some ways that you can get around it. And we'll go in and talk about that a little bit more when it comes to the privacy settings on your own personal stuff at some point. But just recognize Facebook is taking some really big precautionary measures to continue to fix the problem. And if there's one thing that I appreciate about Facebook, they're very conscientious about that the data and the breach that happens inside of the data. It's crazy because there's a lot of companies right now, I don't know if you noticed this, which they're not getting any sort of a rap from it, but Under Armour, like 2 or 3 days later, just came out and said that there was a breach of 50 million customer data that came out from Under Armour. So the hackers are getting better. The systems on the back end are not that great, but the reality is the best thing we can do, obviously, is be proactive and do what we can. And the reason I want to share that with you is because as we dive into today's consideration campaigns, there's some interesting things that you ought to take into consideration, especially when it comes to how do you best leverage ad product to get it in front of the right people based on their behaviors and their interests. Now, again, as we talked about previously in the audience insights, you can actually target people based on those online behaviors. And reporting agencies are reporting to Facebook about those interests and those behaviors. And social media in general advertising is, as a business, is one of the biggest and the best opportunities in the marketplace today. So let's dive right in. We're going to talk about the following things today. We're going to talk about, I pushed one too many buttons. Hold on a second. This is like a slideshow, I think. Okay, yep. So in this episode, we're going to learn about consideration campaigns in Facebook Business Manager. We're going to talk about video leads, lead generation, and messaging. We're going to talk about what to use, when to use it, and what content to use. And I've had Adrienne, our assistant, come up with these funny little comics, and so funny. So as we all know, Where's Waldo? If you were never a kid before, then you wouldn't understand Where's Waldo. But for all of the rest of us that are kids, as a matter of fact, where was I at? I was on Google Maps, and there was a little Waldo that showed up on my Google Maps a while ago. I don't even remember why I was doing that. But so here's the concept. Another irrelevant offer. It's like they have no idea where I am in the customer journey. I was reading an article earlier this week. As a matter of fact, it was today, and it was talking about understanding that customer journey and how to best position content in the customer journey in a way that really connects with them. And there's so much depth and breadth behind that. There's a concept called heat mapping inside of email marketing, inside of lead generation type strategies that show the level of temperature or the engagement that customers are having based on leads that you're trying to generate. And then it better shows where people are kind of getting hung up in the lead funnels and things of that nature. So quite unique, quite interesting. But just want to bring some context to this again, that this is what we're going to be talking about. And in context of understanding the relevancy of offers and where they are, we are moving into the consideration campaign. So let's dive right in. And bringing up, again, here's the business manager. And guys, listen, as you're on here, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop a question or ask a question as we're going through this. So for the sake of speed, I'm going to turn off my camera and let's dive right in. Okay, so first things first, obviously we want to get into the create portion of the ad. Inside of creating a campaign, again, it goes through and it shows you the different types of objectives that are associated with Facebook ads. They used to have a lot more than this, but now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now they have 11 marketing objectives. They used to have like 14 or 15, but they've kind of consolidated quite a few of those into the same thing. So, all right, so consideration ads. Let's talk video views. Now, why in the world, would we use a video-based ad set to make connections with an audience? We've talked a lot about video views in the past and the power of video views. Mitch, maybe you can give us some insights on what you're seeing from a productivity of ads, one versus the other. Which one's producing at higher levels of clicks, impressions, things of that nature?
Yeah, so video views works really well to make that connection to the audience, just like you said, Ryan. Because it's a video, that's as authentic as you can get, I think, especially if it's like a Facebook Live video, for instance. With a picture, then there's all sorts of things that people do to doctor up their pictures. And you can do the same thing with video, I get it, but you don't do it as often. People don't do it as often. And so it's a fantastic way to connect with your audience. In terms of engagement and clicks and different things like that, then videos typically, and this is all typical, as we've said before, you need to test these things. It's not 100% true in every situation. So we're talking about like 95% of the time, for instance. Then video is going to create more engagement. It's going to create that better relationship with your customer. And depending on the video, how it's used, then it can often lead to better conversions if it's used in the process.
Yeah.
Because people have more education. I mean, people need to be educated before they can make a buying decision, right? And a video is going to provide more education than any picture typically will. So that's how it typically compares. It gets a lot more reach, a lot more impressions almost every time.
Yeah, it's interesting right here inside of creating this campaign objective. If you read right below here where it says video views, it says promote videos that show behind the scenes footage, product launches, or customer stories to raise awareness about your brand. I think when people think video content, they think I have to have a professionally put together video in order to put something out on Facebook. And this is what this is saying. And recognize that Facebook always gives you hints as to what type of content they would like to see. So in this case, right, promote videos that show behind the scene footage, not like the actual professionally put together video. And we've noticed the comparison between live video content and professionally put together video content. You get a lot higher reach from the live content than the professionally put together video content. So promote videos that show behind the scenes footage, product launches, or customer stories to raise awareness about your brand. Now, another interesting note right here below this, it says tip, new placement available for shorter video ads. Now, for those of you that are huge fans, and drop a 2 in the comments here. I want to get some engagement going on inside of our Zoom reading, but drop a 2 if you like YouTube either pre-roll ads or ads that happen in the middle of YouTube. Where's my chat window? Where's my chat? Where's my people? Drop a number 2 in there.
If we like or if we don't like.
If you don't like ads built into streaming video. Drop a 1 if you like it. How about that? Drop a 2 if you don't. Drop a 1 if you like it. All right. So check this out, right? I mean, the reality is Facebook is competing with YouTube, right? That's one of their competitions. They're also competing against Netflix. And until they get rid of this specific part of it, these new placement And what they're doing is they're doing what they call in-stream placement of ads, which means they're placing a 5 to 15 second ad inside of a Facebook ad now. Now, I'm not a big fan of that, but I see the value of it from from an attention grab perspective. Because if you have a customer's attention and they're watching a video on a specific topic and you strategically place, let's say we're talking about corn mazes, Todd, because you're on here with us. Let's say there's someone in local Salt Lake area, Provo, Utah area that's talking about, or a video like by the news that's talking about corn mazes, and then all of a sudden a 15-second video comes up and it shows you talking about your specific corn maze. That's going to be an extremely powerful placement. Now, you can't buy that. You can't buy it that specifically because you never know what video content is going to be placed. But you can create that and select that placement and then determine what that looks like. So keep in mind, though, it's a 5 to 15-second window to be eligible for the in-stream video placement. It says people tend to watch these ads to the end. Most of the time, the only reason they're watching those ads to the end is if they're forced to, right? So, okay, so again, and Mitch, I don't remember a time that we actually talked about this, and maybe you did dive in and talk about it, but if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, my friends, I'm sharing my screen with you, right?
Yeah.
You guys switch screen? Okay. On the left-hand side, there's three kind of layers of running qualified Facebook ads. You have the campaign level, you have the ad set level, and then you have the actual ad and the creation of the ad. Now, I'm going to show you a couple tips to optimize video views specifically. And if we have time, we're going to get into lead ads, but I think we might have to push this till next week. So the first things first, campaign level is the overarching, let's select the objective. And then you have the ad set level, which is, okay, what is the actual audience I want to select? What's the budget that I want to select? And what's the placement? And placement in terms of Facebook means, where do I want to put the information in order to capture the right type of people? And this can be a kind of like an auto select, or you can specifically go in and select that information. Keeping in mind from a video view perspective that there are certain places that you can place videos and there's certain places that they won't let you place videos, at least yet. All right, so we selected this video view audience or objective. Now, I'm not going to play too much around with the audience itself for the sake of time, but again, you can go back and put create the audience. Next week, we're going to talk about pixels. Well, a couple weeks, we're going to talk about pixels and creating audiences from Facebook pixels, things of that nature. You can do lookalike audiences inside of this. There's so many cool things that you can do. But what I want to go into a little bit more depth today is placement. One thing, placement, and then two, I want to talk about optimization of ads for ad delivery down here. So let's go placement first. So placement, you can edit placements. Now, and take into consideration as well from a business perspective, if you have, let's say, for instance, you're running a podcast of some sort, and your podcast is only hosted on iTunes, right? If you're talking placement and then you go down to devices, you want to make sure that you're only placing it on devices. And I say devices meaning only on Apple devices, right? If you're talking about Stitcher or the Google Play Store, then you want to place it on a Google product, right, or a Samsung product of some sort that doesn't have, it's not Apple compatible. But so let's look at this really quick. So if I go automatic placements, which is recommended, it'll show me that we'll place it. We'll basically optimize. Facebook will optimize for you the best placement, the best location, optimize your ad dollars. When we first began running ads, and Mitch, maybe you can kind of dive in and share some insights here. When we first began running ads, the ad strategists at the time always talked about editing your placement and placing those ads in a place that you feel or gave some strategic locations of where to place ads. What I'm hearing more often than not in today's environment, though, is that these same face ad strategists are they're talking about auto placement. They're talking a lot more about auto placing content or auto placing your ads versus editing ads, because the algorithm inside of Facebook is getting more and more efficient, and they're able to yield a better result if you let them do as much as they possibly can. So think about that when it comes to adding, to placing your ads. But let me just walk through here really quick. We have Facebook feeds, so that's actually your news feed. You have Facebook instant articles, which means it's going to show up inside the middle of an article, kind of like think of it like a banner ad on the side of your email. You have in-stream videos, and look how it shows you examples of this. So you have this video, it's right inside of the middle of the championship of racing, right? Or I said racing, but I meant surfing. You have right column ads, which show up on a desktop, and then you have suggested video, which means, when you go into and open up a video and then you start scrolling through all the other videos that are there, you can place that in a suggested video. Or this is a brand new placement. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but inside of Facebook Marketplace, they now are giving you the ability to place an ad inside of Marketplace. I was looking for, I just finished my house, finished everything with my house, moving into our house and everything. And I mounted the TV on the wall and plugged it in, turned it on, and sure enough, something in the moving process had shattered the inner lining of my TV. So my 55-inch TV is now out of luck, SOL. But what was interesting is so I went into Marketplace to start looking for TVs, used TVs to buy just in the interim. And sure enough, there was ads that were placed by, I think it was some different car dealerships here locally, inside of those products. And that's because one of our clients is a car dealer, so I've gone in and looked to see what was there. So there was ads that were placed based on that interest. So Marketplace is kind of cool. So think about that as placing ads inside of the classifieds of like a Craigslist of some sort. So there's that, and then you have Instagram feed, Instagram stories. Here's a couple other really kind of interesting things is native banner ads in your audience network. So your audience network, this can appear either on a social product or it might just actually appear on a website. If any of you are followers of Russell Brunson, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It seems like no matter where you go, if you've ever looked at his website, he's pixeled that, and everywhere you go, you see things from Russell Brunson. So you got native banner and an interstitial, I shouldn't say industrial, interstitial ads. You can look at the media requirements to see what that looks like. You have in-stream videos. Again, this is off of Facebook's portal. And then you also have the ability, in some cases, static image ads, not video yet, but static image ads to do messenger ads and also have some sponsored messenger ads going directly to your instant messaging. So kind of cool. There's a lot of really, what kind of questions do you guys have about this? Any specific questions about placement? And if you do, go ahead and type it in here. Mitch, any thoughts that you have about that as far as all the different types of placements? Or Miriam, I know you're on here with us as well. What are your thoughts, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, what I typically do is Instagram is a fantastic placement. We've been doing a lot more with Instagram here in the last couple months. But typically, you're going to want to run a separate ad on Instagram versus on Facebook. Specifically, in the case of video ads, you can only have a 60-second video on Instagram. So you need to have, you can have maybe a little bit longer version for Facebook, but then shorten up that version for Instagram. And then Audience Network, it's really going to depend on the client or on your business, the Audience Network or not. Mm-hmm. We've recently, like Ryan said, then people have been talking about going back to automatic placements, and so I've tested that out. The problem with Audience Network is that because Facebook has a very limited real estate for ad space, if you select Audience Network, they spend a lot of your money on Audience Network, I've noticed. But there's some limitations with your videos that are placed on Audience Network. So it really depends on the business. I've had success with it. I've also had not success with it.
Yeah, and like Mitch has mentioned many times in the context of these webinars, it's a testing game.
Yeah.
The whole world of advertising, especially from a social perspective, is a testing game to see what's working, what's not. And that's why it behooves us not to just create one ad set, but create many different variations. And in the beginning, if you go back to the campaign objectives, it's good to, in some cases, create a split test right away and test two different ads against each other. Now, one thing that you all also ought to understand, when we first started this, right, a $500 ad campaign was typically pretty good to give us an indication of what was happening inside the ad product. Ad costs are going up significantly. And as a result, you'll need more money to put into the ad product to really test, to find out what is actually being optimized and what ad product is performing the best inside of a Facebook ad product. So think about that. Now I want to just go into optimization for ad delivery. I think this is super, super, super important.
Real quick, Ryan, I just saw an article this morning. I don't know if you got it as well, but over the last year, they're showing that Facebook ads have gone up in cost by 43%.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that if it used to be $500, like you said, that would now be a minimum of 700 and something, 715.
Yep.
To try to get the same results. And that's only getting, that rate of increase is only getting faster.
Yeah. We haven't seen, we haven't even seen it start really as much as we anticipate, because as you've heard us say this before, but I was at Traffic and Conversion, which is a huge digital marketing conference in San Diego, the end of March, early part of April. No, end of February, early part of March. And what they said about that was that there's an anticipation of over $70 billion of digital media that's going to be shifted from traditional media to social and digital media. I mean, taking video or TV budgets and throwing a lot of that towards social media marketing and advertising. So with that being said, once the big players start to pay money towards ads, it's going to increase the cost significantly. It's supply and demand, my friends, right? It's the simple statistics 101 that as the demand for ad space increases, so does the cost. The supply decreases as the demand increases, right? So you have to find out, if you're not spending money currently in today's ad product, you better start, because there will be a time where it'll cost you $1,000 to get the same reach as we were doing on a $500 budget. There'll be a time, honestly, where it'll cost you $2,000 to get the same reach on a $500 budget. I mean, think about it. Think about the Google product, right? Google ads in 2005 and 6, you could buy AdWords for 15, sometimes 5, 10, 15 cents per click. Now it's up to $5, $6, $7 per click. And that's where the Facebook world will be going over the course of the next couple of years. So just pay attention, be aware. And when in a video-based ad set can be extremely powerful in the process. So I want to talk here really quick, because one thing that's unique to videos is this optimization for ad delivery. Now, let's just read the context of what they're telling us and see what clues we can find from it. So it says, we'll deliver your ads to the right people to help you get the most video views of 10 plus seconds at the lowest cost. To help you improve delivery optimization, we may survey a small section of your audience. Now, it asks about the bid strategy. And there's been an update to the bidding options. Bidding is basically the idea of you determine the cost of what you think it will take to hit a certain level. And then you say, okay, I want it to be $6.75 per 1,000 people I'm meeting, and they'll try to optimize that as much as they can. But there's been some changes here, and it says we've restructured our bidding options to meet your goals, to better meet your goals. Whether you're looking for cost efficiency, volume, or stability, the options available vary based on your optimization for ad delivery. So that might be getting a little bit 201, but if I close this window out, right, it'll say, okay, it's going to optimize currently for the lowest cost, or I can go in and set a bid cap. And that bid cap might be $4 per video view. Meaning, if I know exactly what I want to spend, then I'm going to spend at least this much money to get a full video view, or just a video view in general. Now, I've never seen a situation quite yet that it makes a ton of sense to set a bid cap. But one way you can reverse engineer the bid cap is you can basically go in and say, okay, I'm going to go run some ads and determine what my approximate cost per mil is or cost per thousand in reach, and then you can set that bid cap that way. So just think about that. Now, the other thing inside of your optimization is when you get charged, meaning when does Facebook actually charge you? And one thing that I like to do, or that we like to do as an agency, is always select this for a 10-second video view audience. There's a strategy out in the world of Facebook ads that a guy by the name of Tim Bird has spaced it for a minute. Tim Bird, he talks, and a guy inside of his group, Calvin, can't remember his first or last name is Calvin. Anyway, he talks about what they call a carpet bombing strategy, which basically means you create about a 10 to a 15-second video, you optimize it for 10-second video views, and then you just kind of take a huge audience to build a view audience that you can leverage after that. So if people watch 10 seconds of your video, they're a lot more likely to engage in the overall strategies, or I'm sorry, not the strategy, but the overall business that you're running, than if they don't engage in up to at least 10 seconds of your video. So that's extremely important, right? And the reason I say it's extremely important is because there's a lot of people that scroll through Facebook and they're scrolling slow, and they might spend 3 or 4 minutes or 3 or 4 seconds on your video. And if you're just running this as an impression, then you'll be charged for that. So your cost per video view might go up, it might go down, but most of the time it's most optimized for a 10-second video view. So think about that as you're putting together your video ads. And again, the purpose from a conversion perspective of building those video view ads out is to really build depth into the conversation of how do we get people to know a little bit more about who we are, going back to the objective, right? We're talking about the video view. Promote videos that show behind-the-scene footage, product launches, or customer stories to raise awareness about your brand. Now, can conversions happen inside of a video view? Yeah, absolutely. But keeping in mind that you just have to understand, going back to our funny little graphic here about where's Waldo, right? This one right here is another irrelevant offer. If we can leverage video to pull some pretty creative data to know where those customers are in that customer journey, and then deliver an ad to further educate or entertain or engage, to build that engagement so that it further drives to revenue, that's the #1 key strategy. So Tori asked a question inside of here. So what would the benefit be of using a price charge per impression? It's a really good question, Tori. I think, and Mitch, maybe you can jump in here as well. My first thoughts are when you're really trying to scale your ad sets, having a bid amount. And I talked to one of my buddies, John Coyle, the other day, and the guy runs over $100,000 a month in ads. And he was saying, one of the things when it comes to bidding is when you leverage bidding, sometimes it can stabilize the cost per mil as you're scaling the actual, as you're scaling the ad. I mean, when you're talking about $50,000 to $100,000 to $200,000 a month in ad budget, those are the times when most likely you'll set that bid amount. Mitch, any other insights on that? Answer that question.
Yeah, I think of changing that that when you get charged from 10-second views to impression, we haven't really noticed a benefit. That's what we charge per 10-second view. But yeah, then with the bid cap, then just like Ryan said, it helps with scaling, and it helps more with not video views, but with conversions. If you're driving ads that are specifically optimized for a purchase, then you can say, okay, I have a $30 product. I make $30 profit on my product. So I'm going to set my bid cap at acquiring a purchase for $20. So at that point, you're pretty much guaranteed to make a profit. And that's where that manual bid, that bid cap really comes in more so than with video views.
Yep, that's right. So what you can do today, set up a video view campaign, create a 10 or 15-second video for your business, and just create that and optimize that based on 10-second video views and see what happens. And then return a report. I know we ask you quite often to return a report here. And I literally would love to hear some feedback. We'll have a section next, Adrienne, if you'll make sure to make a note of this. we'll have for the first minute or two recap of what you did and how you did it and what type of results you saw over the course of the last 7 days coming into the next 7 days. So set up a video view campaign. Again, pretty simple. And our next webinar, I said Facebook pixels, but we'll probably cover more lead ads. Lead ads are quite a unique, interesting thing. And so we'll spend some more time in lead ads and what that looks like and how to extract lead ads once they've actually been converted, and how do you create some optimization and conversion based on a lead ad type of strategy and what that looks like from a creation perspective. So come back next week. It's good to be with you, my friends. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, as always, we're here every Thursday from 11 to 11:30 Mountain Time. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.